with another Survivor recap. This is episode 13. I gotta tell you folks, the entire time I was watching tonight's episode, I thought I must be tripped out on acid because I can't believe what I am seeing. So the show opens with the final five, and it's time to get down to business, and you're going to see where your true alliances lie. And immediately Albert is targeting Sophie. Now, Albert is the kind of guy that week after week after week has come up with this big play that he tries to convince the other people to go along with. Now, either he just doesn't have the kahunas to go through with it, or he does not have the skills to convince others to go along with him. And every week, the big play falls to the side, and then we go back to the original five. So this week, it's Sophie he's targeting, and he thinks he's a real strategic guy. I mean, he thinks that he's outthought, outwitted everybody on this tribe, and it's just not so. So we get to the duel, and it's Edna and Ozzy, and you think Edna doesn't stand a chance, but it's a puzzle duel, and Edna does stand a chance. But she falls behind early, and immediately the people at the duel, the final five, are sitting there giving her step-by-step instructions on how to do it, except for one person who was noticeably silent during all of the, okay, do this, Edna, now do this, Edna. Coach sat there with his mouth zipped. Why? Because he wants Ozzy in the final three, and he's not going to help Edna get there and beat Ozzy. So I noticed that. Coach just kept his mouth shut while the rest of them tried to get Edna to win. In the end, Ozzy won again, and Edna is gone. So then we get back. There's more maneuvering to get out people. Albert approaches Coach about getting out Sophie. Coach says, not so much. And Brandon comes up and says, well, I feel uncomfortable with this conversation, because Coach says we're talking about the jury. And in some ways they were. They were talking about Brandon on the jury being voted for by the jury versus Sophie. And Brandon says, well, I don't really believe what you're saying. And Coach gets very defensive at this. They hug it out. It's insincere. You can tell that Coach is just really holding everything in right now. They get to immunity. Coach wants to win this in the worst way. Albert does crappy as far as I'm concerned. Sophie doesn't do well because you have to go up a rope that is on a board that's on a slant pretty high up, and you have to get your first bag, get down, drop your bag, go back to the second one, drop your bag, go higher, go get your third one, drop your bag, go even higher. By the time it's up to number 5, Sophie can barely get up the thing. Brandon and Coach are the two that are leading this thing. Brandon's in the lead the entire time, but Coach is giving him a super run for his money, and Brandon wins. Unfortunately, Coach, Sophie, and Rick had all decided to vote out Brandon, and now he wins immunity, so now they're screwed. Oh, and Brandon wins pizza, and he gives it his reward to him and Rick. So they're having pizza. They go back, their pizza arrives, they're sitting off to the side eating it. Sophie and Coach agree that Albert's got to go, and up walks Albert, and Sophie says, I'm going to go smell the pizza. And Albert immediately says, well, you know, she's clearly going to be working against me. They're going to campaign against me. Sophie goes and lays down and talks to the guys that are eating pizza, which is Brandon and Rick. You know, Rick is the guy that wears the cowboy hat, in case you didn't know. Okay, so she says, I just want you guys to know I'm going to be voting out Albert. And Rick says, yeah, you know, he just told me final 3. At which point Brandon's eyes just nearly popped out of his head, like, he betrayed me. And there was a big blow up, and you would have thought for sure Albert was gone. And he's trying to, you know, dig himself out of it. It was pretty funny watching Rick, Sophie, and Brandon just go after Albert trying to save his skin. And again, Coach was somewhere off to the side, keeping his mouth shut, noticeably absent from the entire thing. So Brandon is going to vote out Albert. Albert goes up and approaches him and starts talking about their connection, blah, blah, blah. You know, Albert has thought about getting Brandon out multiple times during the game, but now he sits down and prays with the ever gullible Brandon. And Brandon says, I believe you, And he says, if I have to, I will give you my immunity necklace. Now, this is the point where I'm pretty sure those people haven't boiled a lick of water on this island, and they must be drinking the salt water because they're all freaking crazy. So, Brandon is talking to Coach, and he says, I know that this is what God wants us to do. I'll give him my necklace, and you'll vote for me. You would never do anything. Pretty much telling Coach what he will and will not do in this game. And Coach looks at him and goes, this is what God wants you to do. I'm going to go pray to God myself, and I'm going to find out what God wants me to do. And, I'll pray about it, but, this is my thing. So he goes and prays about it. And his answer is Brandon. We get to immunity, and, we get to tribal council, and Brandon has the way of taking the wind out of Jeff Brope's sails every week. He just, boom, let me get it out here and lay it out there on the line. Done. So no sooner do they sit down than he says, I want to give away my immunity necklace. Jeff's like, there goes my, build up of a, suspense. You could just see the letdown in Jeff's face because he knew it was coming. So he was going to kind of work it. No, Brandon took that right away from him. So Brandon gets up, goes and puts it on Albert all ceremoniously and gives him a hug. And then they start talking. At which point it's revealed, Brandon might not be so safe. And Rick says, I'll tell you what, if Albert's that good of a friend, he'd give the necklace back to Brandon. And Albert does not. And then it's Brandon realizing, oh, Coach might not be voting to keep me. And Albert's not willing to give the necklace back, and uh-oh, I'm going home. So sure enough, the vote comes down. It's Rick, Sophie, and Coach against Brandon. Brandon goes to redemption. Coach gives him a hug and says, go get your redemption. And it's off the show he goes. Goes to Redemption Island, talks to Ozzy. He says, me and this game, we're just not cut out for each other. Good time for you to finally notice, Brandon. So next week, it looks like Albert's in trouble. I never trust the previews. But we have a big, big, big show coming Sunday and a finale. And I can't wait to see who makes it to the final three and who wins the game. I'm hoping it's Coach. I really am. And I'll take Sophie secondly. Rick better not win a freaking thing. He's done nothing all season. And it should be interesting to see if Ozzy comes back in, how that's going to work. All right.